Welcome to the Courage to Change with Karen podcast, the place where we get real about addiction recovery and celebrate the victories against struggle. I'm Karen Gardenier, your navigator on this journey of healing, committed to uplifting families touched by addiction. Together, let's unravel the intricate dance of mind, body, and spirit with compassion, tenacity, and steadfast commitment. Do me all a favor, would you? Would you please subscribe to this podcast? It sure helps get the message out to everyone else. And if on the platform you're listening to, if they give you a chance to review it, hit a good review as well for me, would you? Thanks. Okay, Courage to Change with Karen, episode 9. Confusion can be a gift from God. Looking back on instances when I felt desperately in need of an immediate solution, I can see that often I wasn't ready to act. When I became fully ready, the information I needed was there for the taking. When I know too much about my options before the time is right to exercise those options, I tend to use the information only to drive myself crazy. That's why today, when I'm feeling confused, I try to consider it grace. It may not yet be time for me to act. I think that dealing with confusion can be like cooking. If the bread isn't done, I don't take it out of the oven and insist that it's time to eat. I let it finish baking. If a clear solution to a problem hasn't shown itself yet, I can trust that it will appear when the time is right. Okay, I'm going to read that again because I am in like a week of confusion. So let's read it again. I'm reading the February 14th reading, even though this is it's not February 14th right now, but this is the one I picked for today because I need some help. So I'm going to read it again. Sometimes it takes me a couple times to read something when my mind is racing for me to really kick in. So let's do it again. February 14th. Confusion can be a gift from God. Looking back on instances when I felt desperately in need of an immediate solution, I can see that often I wasn't ready to act. Looking back on instances when I felt desperately in need of an immediate solution, I can see that I often wasn't ready to act. When I became fully ready, the information I needed was there for the taking. When I know too much about my options before the time is right to exercise those options, I tend to use the information only to drive myself crazy. Okay, that's profound. That's why I'm in crazy mode, I think. When I know too much about my options before the time's right to exercise those options, I tend to use the information only to drive myself crazy. That's why today, when I'm feeling confused, I try to consider it grace. It may not yet be time for me to act. I think that I think that dealing with confusion can be like cooking. If the bread isn't done, I don't take it out of the oven and insist that it's time to eat. I let it finish baking. If a clear solution to a problem hasn't shown itself yet, I can trust that it will appear when the time is right. It takes a lot of faith. Today's reminder, I will thank my higher power for whatever I experience today. Even if I feel troubled or confused, I know that every experience can offer me a gift. All I have to do is be willing to look at my situation in the light of gratitude. And then there's a quote here by Helen Keller. Everything has its wonders, even darkness and silence, and I learn whatever state I may be in, therein to be content. Well, ending that reading off with a Helen Keller quote kind of makes everything else kind of trite, doesn't it? That's a great quote. Okay, I have been in a state of confusion. It says it can be a gift from God. I have had a really wild week, and I'm trying to figure out, what's my next move? What do I do? What's happening? Why is all this happening at the same time? And I know that, I did the episode a few episodes back. I don't have my episode list in front of me, but I talked about how the physical body will help you see, where you need help, where your spiritual life is at, So your body will start showing you signs if you listen. So a week ago, I got a cold. And I haven't been sick since I got COVID last year. And I only got COVID because I was kissing on my little nieces up in Montana. They got it from school. Otherwise, I'm a mask-wearing nut. And I'm just really careful. And I haven't been sick for a year. I wear my mask all the time. And I had a friend who came in town. It was her birthday. And she loves these pies from our local Jewish deli. So I went to get my coffee in the morning. And I thought, I'm going to run by that deli and see if they have a pie. I didn't pre-order it. Last year I pre-ordered it and, it was very organized. But this year I forgot. And I thought, I'm going to just run by and see if they have a whole pie. And of course, it's the busiest week ever in Palm Springs, California. It's Modernism Week, as well as a million other things going on. The weather's beautiful and every person on the planet is here visiting. So I ran down there and I jumped out of my Jeep and ran in to just look into the dessert case and see if they had a whole pie. This dessert case is to die for. Oh my God. And, they have bakers 24 hours a day and it's one of those fabulous delis. And I ran in there without my mask. And there was a million people waiting in line for breakfast, waiting at the dessert thing, picking up to-go orders, millions of people. And I ran in and I didn't have a cake. And the girl said, hey, can I help you? And I said, you don't have a full pie in the back, do you? And she goes, let me go look. So she takes off and I'm standing there and there's all these people and I'm not thinking too much about it. But I was without my mask. And in that short a time, somebody gave me their cold. And so I came home. I didn't feel bad until the next day. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like a cold flu thing. And it hit me pretty hard. And I was sick and not feeling good. And that morning I woke up, like that night the fever came on. I woke up the next morning and my Facebook page, my profile, Facebook profile, my Facebook page, my page that goes to this, my Courage to Change private podcast page for all of you, was all suspended. And I was like, what happened? And, it is what I do. It's my kind of my job is to get this information out. And I spend a lot of effort doing it. And people depend on it, to be honest. Maybe you're not one of those people, but a lot of people really depend on the support and encouragement of what they're going through. And I was suspended. And so I requested why was I suspended? And they said, someone reported sexual content. Anyway, they said, you've been reported for sexual profanity, and which there is none on my page, if you follow me, any of my stuff, or in my life. That's not an area I'm busy in right now. So anyway, I did the appeal, and I was so, how when you're sick anyway, you're so down, and I was just crushed. I was like, shoot, why is this happening? And I didn't feel good and I was sick in bed and then I'm totally disconnected. People are contacting me. How come you've been taken down, and still trying to produce content and get information out. And just the first week of my big launch of that week workshop, that several week workshop I'm going to do in July. And I was really discouraged. I was confused, like, why is this happening? And then my eyesight, one of my eyes got all messed up. And I started having these big floaters floating across my right eye, and I couldn't see anything. And again, I was like, what is this? And that actually started happening before I got the cold. But I kind of just ignored it, like floaters, But it was really obstructing my vision. And my good friend said, you need to go and see an optometrist. And I was like, oh, God, And at the same time, like a few weeks before that, my pinky finger started to bend. Like overnight, I woke up and this thing was a crook. It was like a hook, the top of a cane. And I thought, what the heck is going on with me? And so, I had a crooked finger, no big deal. Got the floaters in my eye, inconvenient, and then I got sick. And then my Facebook page got taken down. And I was like so gutted. And it's not one thing, it's when things all happen like at the same time, it's just, and it's really hard. I'll just be honest. I'm a pretty spiritual person, but it's hard to be spiritual when you're sick. It's hard. But I kept going to my meetings and doing my routine and just thought I'm just going to put it in neutral. And on Sunday, that crooked finger all of a sudden got these it got really hard and these knots in the inside of it. And I thought, oh, this isn't right. Something's wrong. So I woke up the next morning. I thought, enough of this. Apparently, I'm not getting the message. I need to take care of myself. And the cold was kind of the final hit. So I went to urgent care on Monday morning about my finger. And I have something, I don't even know what it's called. It's a strange word, but it's where the tendon from your hand into your finger tightens up and pulls your finger down. And it hardens up really hard. It's almost like a trigger finger, but trigger fingers you can pop back up. This didn't pop back up. And so I went in and they said, oh my gosh, we got to get you to an orthopedic. So I was like, oh, you're kidding me. They put me on some steroids for my hand, like a 6-day steroid pack, and gave me the special cream to start massaging. It's already started loosening up. And I made an appointment right away. I thought, this is obviously God's telling me something here. So I went ahead and made an eye appointment and went in today for an eye appointment. And the floaters are very normal. They happen, especially when you're my age. The fluid or the gel in the back of your eye loosens up and floats. But this floating stuff actually popped a blood vessel in my eye, the back of my eye. So, it could have been serious. He said, your retina can detach. You can tear your retina. He said, that hasn't happened. Let's just hope it clears up. Come back in 10 days. So, and I see an orthopedic tomorrow about my finger. And it's good because the guy said, they can catch it before they have to do surgery and cut that tendon to release your finger. So all these things were like preventative, if I would have just taken care of it when it happened, it wouldn't have all piled up on me. And while I was at urgent care, they checked my lungs and everything. I had tested myself for COVID. I didn't have COVID. And they said it was clearing up fine. And the steroids they put me on would help my lungs. And so it's just been one of those weeks. And what it really brought my attention to was this confusion, this reading, it says it's a confusion. Now, when you look back on it, first thing I'll say this, one of the lessons I've learned in my life, one of the biggest lessons is some of the worst things that have ever happened to me have ended up being the very best. And I don't know why that is. In the moment, I've thought, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And then it ends up, I look back on it and go, God, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And that's a lot of the things I've gone through in my life, big events like getting sober and learning about codependency, hitting my bottom, with that, was like the worst thing at the time. And now I look back and say, oh my God, that had to happen. Like, I wouldn't be who I am today. I couldn't do what I do today. And so I know that this stuff, one of it is I've got to take better care of myself, and I can't put things off. I'm big into that, putting things off. And the Facebook shutdown has made me focus on my other platforms and the need to really grow my email list, because I was able to email all of you on my email list and say, hey, my Facebook's suspended, and it could be suspended for like 30 days. I mean, they could possibly never give it back to me. I don't know. It's that sense of powerlessness, but I have to keep going, and this confusion, I love this line when it says, when I know too much about my options before the time is right. That reminds me of the old saying, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. I have a lot of decisions to make. I have a lot of things. I've decided to really focus on this podcast because I want to be able to really share about real life, like what I just told you. I mean, that's real life stuff. I can go on Instagram and post little pictures, and make it all, but life happens. And the stuff that I talk about, the tools for living, the design for living that I've found in all of the 12-step programs it's changed my life. It's made it to where I can survive things, I can get through things. And lately I've been really trying to figure out, do I need to go back to work, like a paycheck job? Do I need to try to do, more groups and things so people can get more help? What direction am I what am I doing here? It's almost like it feels like a midlife crisis late in life. What am I supposed to do? And I'm praying about it. I'm asking God, like, what do you want me to do? Am I helping people? Is this helping? Is this getting to anybody? Getting, Facebook shut down. It's like, why do I effort so much? And then, it's really out of our hands, social media. And that's why I am glad I started this email list, so that, one day, if all you do is your Instagram and you build your business on Instagram, and one day they close Instagram or they kick you off Instagram, that's it. You've lost all your friends, all your community. Everybody's gone. And so, I wish I would have known that about an email list 5 years ago when I started doing this. Because I lost a lot of people. I did lose my Instagram account. I have lost Facebook before. And every time it's like starting over again. And so I have to really trust and have faith that the right people are hearing this at the right time. That God is going to make it, or whatever, the divine creator, the universe, gets information to the people that need it the most. Or maybe they share it with someone, an idea, a concept, a tool, and the tools that I've learned is exactly kind of what Helen Keller said, this, everything has its wonders, even the darkness and silence. And I learned whatever state I may be in, to be content. And that to me rings of gratitude. And gratitude changes everything. Gratitude changes perception. When the doctor walked me out from urgent care, he said to me, "Oh, I wish I had better news for you." And I said, "This is pretty good news." I said, "I know it's really not good news, but it's really good news, because in my mind, when I felt those little nodule things, I thought, oh no, I've got cancer, I've got tumors. My mind goes to the worst case scenario, which is why I probably don't take care of myself. And I thought, they're going to have to cut off my little finger. And before I went to the urgent care on Sunday night, I was walking around thinking, I wonder how hard it is to live without your little finger. Is that the craziest thing? I mean, I go to the worst case scenario. And, So it's the way you look at it. To me, oh, this could be treatable. This doesn't have to be deformed. It's a deformity. If you don't treat it, it's going to be deformed because that tendon is going to pull your whole hand down, and it pulls your wrist down, and then it goes into your arm. So, it could get worse, but if I take care of it, I'm pretty lucky, right? I'm pretty lucky I was able and capable to get myself to urgent care, and the eye doctor said the same thing. Oh God, I'm so sorry. And I said, well, you didn't tell me I have a cataract. You didn't tell me my retina's detached. He said when he looked inside my eyeball, it looked like a snow globe. There's so much going on in there. But there's nothing you can do. It's just going to fix itself. That's a pretty good thing. You know what I mean? I don't have to have eye surgery. I was like, dude, I'm okay. I'm pretty happy, and I'm pretty proud of myself I got in here. And I'll see you in 10 days, and you're going to tell me it's fine, And the same with the cold. Thank God it wasn't COVID. Thank God nobody else got sick. My girlfriend that I bought the pie for, I was with her. She didn't get sick. No one else got sick. The medicine they gave me for my hand actually helped clear up my lungs. So, I gotta live like that. I gotta live like, okay. And now the thing about the job and work and money and what am I supposed to do here? What am I supposed to do? What direction? I feel like I'm stagnant at the moment, and I need to do some workshops or some one-on-ones and stuff. I need to actually be helping people, or it all feels, I don't know, it feels mute to me. So I guess, according to the saying, is that the only reason I'm confused is because there's too many options. And when the right thing is supposed to happen, it's going to show up. And that has happened in my entire life. If I've just stay in the moment and wait for the next indicated thing, it always shows up. This podcast today has been more for me than it has for you. I feel so much better. Things do get confusing in my head because I'm mulling it over. And mulling it over is just a waste of time, isn't it? And someone said something the other day. I heard a speaker say something about, anxiety. Stress and anxiety doesn't change the outcome. And I thought about that. I thought about financially. I thought, why am I worried about anything? It's not going to change what's going to happen. What's going to happen is going to happen. And I have some faith. Everything always works out the way it's supposed to. God always puts me right where I can be the most helpful. I'm right where I'm supposed to be at all times, or I wouldn't be there. And it's hard. It's hard to live on faith. It can be hard, and sometimes it's easier to really get into confusion, and to really get into beating myself up. And I hadn't realized I was doing that this week until that same doctor at the urgent care said to me, he stopped what he was doing and he turned around and looked at me and he goes, this isn't your fault, right? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you keep saying like you did something, like you fell or you tripped or this just happens. Like this is just something that happens in your body. Your tendon, has tightened up so much that it's pulling on your finger, and it's something that happens to people. People get this. You didn't do anything, and you didn't do anything wrong. And you keep saying, well, you should have come in when you first noticed it. Well, he said you didn't. He said you didn't. So he goes, give yourself a break. And I thought, oh my God, I am doing that. I'm doing it about my eye. I'm doing it about the cold. I didn't wear my mask. Well, shit happens. I can't be doing that to myself. That's one of the reasons I'm probably sick. God, I'm such a person that's a go, go, go kind of person, right? That God sometimes has to stop me with a cold, where you have to lay down and rest. Really hard for me. And I've had a lot of rest this week, and I go see the hand doctor tomorrow, and I'm sure it's going to be fine. And I'm going to be really mindful about not saying, I should have done this, I should have done that, and just listen and see what he says. I create my own confusion. I really do. I don't think we're put on the planet to live in this kind of a confused state. I think we're the only animals on the planet that do that. Run around like chickens with our head cut off, worrying about everyone else and what we should have done and what we could have done. And, it's just life isn't like that. We did what we did. The things I've done in my life, if I could have done better, I would have. I like the reading a lot today. I think it's really centers on faith, trusting the process, getting out of my own way, and being a little nicer to myself. I didn't do anything to get banned on Facebook. That. Happens, that's what happens. Things happen. And I got to be okay with it. So I guess I've kind of ranted on a little bit. I hope you can relate to that. I'd love to hear from you. You can always comment on the podcast. Let me know if you got anything out of this. Let me know if you've ever been in the same boat, Tell me how you are. Just tell me you're there. If you follow me on Facebook, or you're on the Facebook group, I'm still going to put the group link in the show notes. So in the show notes, you'll see a link to the Courage to Change, because it's not going to be down forever. It could go up tomorrow. So click on and join, and, I'll be there. I'll join you all when I get out of jail, Facebook jail. And I am going to do a really great workshop. I'm going to do it in April, despite what happens with Facebook. And you can find out more about that. Make sure you're on my email list. Just grab one of the freebies I'll put something for you. I've got this great new ebook, and I love it. I worked on it, and it was like, if I could have called it Al-Anon for Dummies, I would, but I dare not. But it really is a great basic. If you're new here and you're new to codependency, and you've listened to the podcast and you hear me talk about boundaries and enabling and detachment and, all of these words, when you're new in the program, it's like, oh my God, I know what they mean, but how in the heck do I apply them to my life? So I did this little kind of a guide, and it's got the definition, basic Karen definition of 10 of the most common terms used in Al-Anon in any kind of codependency recovery. And I also give a simple example, like just a simple example of what that looks like. And if you go to my Stan store, my link in my bios, I charge for that. But here I'm going to offer it to you for free. And just hop on and take a gander, and it'll get you on my email list as well. Okay? So look in the show notes for a couple of goodies, and let me know. Make sure to like and subscribe to my little podcast here. I'm so happy you're here, and I hope you're having a great week. It'll be fun to catch up next week. See you then.